There's a secret kept for millennia that, if you discover, the first and most important rule is, keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anyone. This isn't a metaphor. Thoth, the scribe of the Egyptian gods, knew that certain truths are so powerful that, when revealed, they initiate an irreversible transformation within you. The first sign that you've tapped into this secret isn't a vision, but an almost uncontrollable urge to tell everyone. And that's exactly where 99% of people fail and lose all the power they've just received. In this video, I'll show you why silence is your greatest weapon after a great discovery, and why speaking about it too soon can completely destroy your future. Stay until the end, because what you'll learn today could be the difference between your transformation and stagnation. If you've ever felt like you discovered something important and had to hold back from telling someone, comment below. I understand the power of silence. That urge to tell everyone about your discovery isn't enlightenment, it's an ego trap. It masquerades as a noble desire, but it's actually seeking applause. Think of your energy as a reservoir. Every word spoken too soon is a new crack. The validation you receive is addictive and makes you talk more, until your life force, the true power of your discovery, leaks away completely, leaving you exhausted and vulnerable. A newly discovered truth is like a seed that needs darkness to grow strong roots. By speaking, you tear it from the ground to display it, stunting its growth. Your words, at this stage, are merely a map to a treasure you don't yet possess. They carry no weight, no power to transform. You're not sharing wisdom. You're simply wasting the energy you should be using to become what you've discovered. This loss of energy has an immediate cost. The clarity you once felt becomes clouded, and certainty gives way to doubt. You begin to question your own experience because you've surrendered authority over it to others. The opinions of minds who haven't seen what you've seen begin to outweigh your own experience. It's at this point that the vibrational connection to your discovery begins to weaken, and the magic dissipates into thin air. With your energy drained, you become an easy target for the world's negativity. The doubt and pessimism that previously didn't affect you now find an open door. You feel lost between two worlds. The old, which no longer serves you, and the new, which you don't yet have the strength to inhabit. This disorientation generates a subtle pain, a melancholy of seeing what others don't see, of feeling a reality they deny. This is where true isolation begins. It's not the lack of people, but the difference in perception that separates you from the crowd. Conversations become noise, and you feel like a stranger in your own life. An overwhelming pressure pushes you to explain yourself, to be accepted. But this is the test. Give in to the fear of loneliness and dilute your truth, or embrace silence as your teacher. Because it is in this apparent emptiness that you will discover a strength you never imagined you possessed. The isolation you feel isn't about being alone. It's about perceiving the world differently. It's as if you've started hearing a music no one else hears, a subtle harmony beneath the noise of everyday life. Once you hear this melody, the noise of superficial conversations, gossip, and complaints becomes unbearable. It's not arrogance, it's a frequency mismatch. What once attracted you now energetically repels you. You begin to feel like an actor in a play that no longer makes sense, forced to wear a social mask to fit in. Parties and gatherings that were once your refuge now drain your energy. You look at the people you love, and while the love remains, a chasm of perception opens up. They worry about the next bill, while you are consumed by questions about the nature of reality. Trying to explain this is futile and frustrating. This dissonance between your expanding inner world and the stagnant outer world creates a crushing pressure. Your panicked mind begs you to retreat back to the safety of normalcy. It whispers that it's easier to be like everyone else, that at least you won't be alone. It's the temptation of mediocrity, promising acceptance in exchange for your truth. Many give up here, choosing the comfort of the familiar prison. But if you resist this call to regress, you will discover the true purpose of this solitude. It is not a punishment, it is sacred training. Initiates into the ancient mysteries were isolated to acclimate to this new frequency, to learn to walk alone. Isolation separates you from the noise of the crowd so that, for the first time, you can hear your own voice, the voice of your soul, without any external interference. It's in this self-imposed desert that you find true nourishment. You stop seeking light outside and find it within. The loneliness you feared reveals itself as solitude, the magnificent presence of yourself. You realize you don't need to explain yourself or convince anyone. Your only task is to strengthen this silent connection. And by embracing this stillness, you discover that it's not empty, but an active force that begins to build real power around you. By embracing silence, you discover that it is not a void, but a field of power. All the energy previously wasted on useless conversations and attempts to convince others is redirected inward. This contained force becomes the raw material for your transformation, strengthening your inner structure. As Pythagoras taught, silence forces the soul's energy to build to a point of ignition, revealing everything hidden in the shadows of your mind. In stillness, an alchemical process begins. You stop reacting to the world and begin to act upon yourself. Each time you choose silence over an angry response, you transmute that energy into personal power. You become an alchemist of your own consciousness, transforming dense emotions into elevated states of being. This internal transmutation begins to emit a new energetic signature, and your presence undeniably shifts. People around you feel this change, even if they don't understand it. They perceive a calm and certainty in you that wasn't there before. Your energy, once scattered, is now focused and stable, making your presence magnetic. You become the person in the room who, even in silence, radiates control and peace. People begin to seek your company not to chat, but simply to be near your infectious calm. This new energy forms a protective shield around you. Built with the accumulated power of silence, it acts like a filter. It repels envy, criticism, and negativity, while allowing inspiration and love to enter. The arguments and chaos of the outside world no longer penetrate you. They dissipate upon touching the edge of your energy field. You become untouchable, protected by the fortress of your own inner stillness. From within this fortress, a new sense awakens: discernment. With your mind free from noise, your perception sharpens to an extraordinary level. You begin to see beyond masks, to sense the intention behind words. You begin to read the silent language of energy and identify the patterns of those who, consciously or unconsciously, feed off the strength of others. This clarity prepares you for the next, more dangerous level of the game. With this new vision sharpened by silence, the world reveals itself as a vast energetic chessboard. You begin to realize that human interactions are not just exchanges of words and ideas, but transactions of energy. And in this game, not everyone plays fair. You clearly identify those who operate in a constant energy deficit and who, to feel better, need to drain the vitality of others. They are not horror movie monsters. They could be friends, family, co-workers. They are people trapped in their own cycles of pain and who, unconsciously, have become energetic predators. They have subtle and effective tactics. One of them is doubt. Just when you're most excited about a new project, a new idea, or a personal breakthrough, they appear with a seemingly innocent question. But are you sure this will work? So-and-so tried and failed. They plant a seed of doubt that, if not firmly rooted, can grow and stifle your inspiration. They remind you of your past failures, not to help you learn, but to keep you on the same level as them, where they feel safe. Another tactic is victimization. They constantly seek you out with their problems, their dramas, their tragedies. They turn you into an unpaid therapist, dumping all their negativity into your energy field. You listen, try to help, offer solutions, but nothing works. Because they don't want a solution. They want your attention, your compassion, your energy. After a conversation with them, you feel exhausted, drained, as if you've run a marathon, while they, for a brief moment, feel relieved and lighter, nourished by your life force. The most dangerous thing is that they don't do this out of calculated malice. It's an unconscious survival mechanism. Your growth, your light, your new positive energy act as a mirror. And this mirror reflects the stagnation, inertia, and unhappiness they refuse to face within themselves. Instead of using this reflection as a catalyst for their own change, they try to break the mirror. Attacking you, belittling you, dragging you back into the mud is easier than doing the hard work of cleaning their own house. Your happiness is an affront to their misery. And this is where Thoth's secret, silence, reveals itself as your greatest weapon of protection. By keeping your mouth shut about your plans, your dreams, and your deepest discoveries, you become energetically invisible to these predators. They cannot attack what they cannot see. They cannot doubt what they do not know. You learn to move like a submarine, navigating the depths, invisible to the radar of others, negativity. You continue to build, to grow, to evolve, but you do so in the sanctuary of your silence, protected from outside interference. This practice of strategic silence isn't an act of dishonesty or hiding. It's an act of wisdom and self-defense. You learn to give vague answers, to change the subject, to be pleasant yet impenetrable. You become a master at managing your energy, sharing it only with those who vibrate at a similar frequency, those who celebrate your growth and inspire you to go further. To others, you offer a polite smile and your silence. You no longer play their game. You no longer try to save or change them. You simply protect your peace. And in doing so, you discover something even more profound. You realize that silence doesn't just protect you from others. It protects your own creation. It protects the reality you are weaving into the loom of the universe. You understand that every word spoken about a future yet to manifest is a vibration sent into the cosmos. And if that vibration is tainted by doubt or fear, it can distort or even cancel your original intention. And this understanding brings you to the threshold of one of the greatest secrets of manifestation. By protecting your energy from external predators, you discover that the greatest danger lies not outside, but within your own mouth. Thoth, the master of words and magic, taught that speech is the most powerful tool of creation human beings possess. Every word you utter is not just a sound, it is a vibrational decree. It is a command sent to the universe, an instruction for matter to organize itself in a certain way. When you say, "I am tired," you are not just describing a state. You are instructing your cells to produce more tiredness. Words create reality. And that's why keeping quiet about your goals is crucial. A dream, a plan, a grand goal, in its early stages, is like an embryo. It's a delicate, extremely vulnerable energetic structure. By talking about it prematurely, you expose it to all kinds of vibrational interference, a friend's doubt, a colleague's envy, even your own anxiety. All of these create noise in the quantum field, distorting the pure frequency of your original intention. It's like trying to tune a delicate radio in the middle of a lightning storm. The chance of getting out of tune is enormous. Think of the manifestation process as cooking a complex dish. You gather the ingredients, your intention, your desire, place them in the oven, the silence, the incubation, and adjust the temperature, your emotion, your faith. Opening the oven door every 5 minutes to check if it's ready, or worse, to show others how it's turning out, does only one thing. It dissipates the heat and stops the cooking. Silence maintains the energetic pressure necessary for your intention to materialize in the physical plane. It's the discipline of trusting the process, of knowing that something is cooking even when you can't see it. By moving in silence, you accumulate immense creative power. All the energy that would otherwise be spent talking, explaining, and defending yourself is channeled into a single point, achieving your goal. You become a laser of intention. While others talk about what they're going to do, you simply do it. While they seek applause for their plans, you build your empire in the dark, brick by brick. And when the edifice is complete, when success is undeniable, you won't need to say anything. Your creation will speak for you. Success will make all the noise. This practice teaches you the true meaning of faith, not blind faith in an external entity, but unshakable faith in the power of your own inner world. You learn to trust your vision even when there is no external evidence of it. You nourish your dream with your feelings, your visualizations, your silent actions. You become a guardian of your own future, protecting it like a sacred treasure. And this posture of reverence and focus sends a clear signal to the universe. This is not a maybe. This is a fact that simply hasn't happened yet in linear time. And the universe, which operates by the law of resonance, has no choice but to respond. Coincidences begin to happen. The right people appear. Doors open. It's not magic, it's physics. You've built an energetic charge so powerful and coherent in your silence that it begins to magnetically attract all the necessary pieces for your manifestation. You're no longer chasing butterflies. You've built a garden so beautiful that the butterflies come to you. You stop fighting the current and learn to become the current itself. And it is this accumulated pressure, this creative force you have built in the cocoon of your silence, that brings you to the threshold of the great revelation. You're about to understand the central point of all Thoth's teachings, the master key that unlocks all the doors of reality. You will understand why silence was not just a tool of protection or manifestation, but the prerequisite for the most powerful act of all, the transformation of your own identity. The secret was not about what you do, but about who you become in the process. And herein lies the truth that Thoth encoded in the hieroglyphics and the silences of the temples. The secret was never about acquiring hidden knowledge to use as a tool. The entire journey, the test of speech, the isolation, the construction of the force field, the discernment, the silent incubation, all had a single purpose: to force you to become the knowledge itself. Power is not in knowing the path. Power is in being the path. Speaking the truth before becoming the truth is the greatest of all illusions, the breaking of the spell that prevents manifestation. When you remain silent, the wisdom you've discovered begins a migration. It ceases to be an abstract idea floating in your mind and begins to descend, infiltrating every part of your being. It reprograms your cells, rewrites your emotional DNA, recalibrates your nervous system. You no longer need to remind yourself to be patient. Patience becomes your automatic response. You no longer need to strive for confidence. Confidence becomes your natural frequency. Truth ceases to be something you have and becomes something you are. And this is the crucial point, the master key that unlocks reality. The universe doesn't respond to your thoughts or desires. It responds to your frequency of being. It responds to who you are moment by moment. You can spend all day affirming I am rich, but if your internal frequency is one of fear and scarcity, the universe ignores your words and responds to your vibration. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Silence gives you the time and space necessary to shift your vibrational identity from the inside out. This is why speaking too soon is so disastrous. By verbalizing an identity you haven't yet embodied, I'm a success, when you still feel like a failure, you create a vibrational conflict. Your words say one thing, but your energy screams another. And the universe, which understands not language, only frequency, becomes confused. The result is chaotic manifestation, mixed results, or, most often, nothing at all. Silence allows you to align your energy with your intention before transmitting it to the world. First you become, then reality conforms. When you become the embodiment of your discovery, something magical happens. Your external reality, like a perfect mirror, is forced to rearrange itself to reflect your new internal identity. You no longer need to fight, force, or manipulate. Things simply begin to happen. Opportunities that once seemed distant now fall into your lap. People who once ignored you now seek your presence. Money that was once a struggle now flows easily. Not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. And the world is merely a reflection of who you have become. The secret of Thoth, therefore, is not information to be shared. It is a state of being to be lived. It is a process of personal alchemy that can only occur in the stillness and sanctuary of your own being. Every time you resist the temptation to speak, you are saying to the universe, I am committed to my transformation, not to my performance. And this commitment is the most powerful energetic signature there is. It is proof that you are ready to step into your power as a true co-creator of reality. And that's why, and only why, after discovering this secret, you must keep your mouth shut. Not out of fear, not out of selfishness, but out of deep respect for the sacred process of becoming. You must give the seed time to grow into a strong tree, with deep roots, capable of withstanding any storm and eventually bearing fruit that can nourish others. First, you become the tree. Only later, much later, do you care about sharing the fruits. Because now you understand that your life is no longer about seeking power, but about becoming its very source. Now that you've become the source of your own power, a new phase of the journey begins. That of silent mastery. It's a stage where struggle ceases and fluidity begins. You'll notice something strange happening. Those people who once seemed to have the power to destabilize you with a single word. Those who doubted you, those who tried to drag you down, simply lose their effect. Their criticism, once so penetrating, now sounds like a distant, insignificant noise. Like the buzzing of an insect on the other side of a closed window. It's not that you've developed thicker skin or become indifferent. It's something much deeper and more fundamental. You simply cease to exist at the frequency at which their negativity operates. Imagine that criticism and doubt vibrate at a low, dense frequency, like a low, dragging sound. By becoming the truth you discovered, your personal frequency has risen, becoming faster and more subtle, like a high, crystalline musical note. Basic physics teaches us that two very different frequencies cannot easily interact. Their energy simply no longer finds an anchor point in you. They throw mud, but you are now made of light, and the mud passes through your energy field without leaving any stain or residue. Your inner stillness and the certainty you cultivated in silence have created an impenetrable force field. This isn't a shield you need to consciously erect. It's a natural consequence of your new state of being. It's a toroidal field of coherent energy that emanates from your heart and envelops your entire being, an aura of silent power. They may try, they may launch their barbs, their projections, their insecurities. But their words and energies reach the edge of your field and bounce back to their source. They no longer find in you the insecurity, fear, or need for approval they once fed on. It's at this moment that you understand, on a cellular level, true inner alchemy. You realize you've spent your entire life trying to change the outside world, trying to fix others, trying to control circumstances so you can finally find peace. And now you see that this was the wrong strategy all along. You didn't change the world, you changed yourself. And, as if by magic, by changing your inner world, your outer world has completely transformed. The same people and situations are still there, but they no longer have power over you. You've definitively regained control of your experience. This understanding is liberating. You stop blaming others. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances. You understand that the key to your prison has always been in your pocket. Full responsibility for your peace and your reality becomes not a burden, but your greatest source of power and freedom. You are no longer a boat adrift, tossed by the waves of other people's moods and opinions. You have become the captain of your own ship, with an internal compass that points firmly to your true north, regardless of the fury of the storm brewing outside. This unshakable stability prepares you for a level of power that once seemed the stuff of science fiction or ancient mystical texts. It's the ability to effortlessly influence reality, to shape the quantum field not through brute force, but through the simple resonance of your being. You no longer need to make things happen. You align with the frequency of your desire and allow the universe to orchestrate the details for you. You go from a laborer building with their hands to an architect designing with their consciousness, watching creation unfold before your eyes with grace and perfection. And this new ability doesn't manifest itself in grand or spectacular ways, with thunder and lightning. It begins subtly, almost imperceptibly, in the fabric of everyday life. You think of an old friend, and hours later, they call you out of the blue. You need specific information, and suddenly, a book falls open to the exact page. These synchronicities become increasingly frequent, demonstrating that you are no longer separate from the flow of the universe. You are dancing with it. And this harmonious dance begins to affect not only your life, but the lives of everyone who comes into your field of influence, transforming you into a silent beacon of change. Your presence, now charged with the coherent energy you've cultivated for so long, becomes your primary tool of influence and power. You enter a room and, without saying a single word, the atmosphere transforms. Tension dissipates, heated arguments calm down. People seem to breathe a little more deeply, as if a weight has been lifted from their shoulders. You do absolutely nothing. You simply are. Your inner peace radiates like ripples on a pond, and everyone within your resonance field is subtly touched by it. Power ceases to be an external action and becomes an internal, contagious state of being. Those on their own journey of growth, seeking answers and ready to awaken, are inexplicably drawn to you. They can't quite pinpoint why, but they feel a security, permission, and clarity in your company that they can't find anywhere else. They don't seek you out for advice or to have you solve their problems. They seek your quiet presence because, in it, they find the sacred space necessary to hear their own answers. Your stillness acts like a tuning fork, helping them find their own note, tune their own inner compass, and access the wisdom that already exists within them. On the other hand, an equally powerful and natural phenomenon occurs. Those who insist on living in drama, negativity, and constant complaining begin to distance themselves from you. Your energy, now so clear and high frequency, becomes extremely uncomfortable for them. It's like turning on a bright light in a dark room where someone is trying to sleep. Your presence illuminates the shadows they prefer to keep hidden, and the vibrational dissonance becomes unbearable. They may try to provoke you, drag you into their drama, but when they don't find resonance, they move away in search of someone who vibrates at the same frequency as them. This is the Hermetic principle of correspondence in its purest and most practical manifestation. As within, so without. Your external world becomes a direct and accurate reflection of your inner harmony. You stop trying to organize the chaos outside and focus all your energy on cultivating order and peace within. As a result, your reality miraculously self-organizes around you. Toxic relationships dissolve effortlessly. Aligned opportunities appear out of nowhere, and synchronicity becomes the norm in your daily life. You become a silent catalyst, uplifting your surroundings simply by maintaining the integrity of your own state of being. You no longer need to fight, convince, or prove yourself right to anyone. Your life becomes your single most powerful argument. Your peace becomes irrefutable proof. You realize that the most powerful way to change the world is not through protests or speeches, but by becoming the change you wish to see. You stop preaching about peace and become peace. You stop talking about love and become love. And this radical authenticity, this coherence between being and living, is what sets you apart. In a world of masks and performances, your simple, silent truth stands out like a beacon in the dark night. This mastery over your own energy takes you to one of the most advanced and refined stages of the spiritual journey. Conscious mastery over your own speech, silence, once a discipline of protection and containment, now becomes a strategic and powerful choice. You no longer remain silent for fear of leaking energy, but because you understand the immense power contained in every syllable you utter. You understand that words are not mere tools of communication, but true instruments of creation, and you learn to use them with the precision of a surgeon and the wisdom of a master. And with this mastery, you begin to perceive the true nature of most human conversations with disconcerting clarity. You see that 99% of what is said is just noise, an exchange of anxieties, a competition of egos, a desperate attempt to fill the terrifying void of silence. You sit in a meeting, at a dinner, and observe the game, but no longer participate in it. You become a deep listener, not to formulate a clever response, but to understand the unspoken need behind the words. And this skill gives you a power of discernment that borders on telepathy. At this advanced stage, silence ceases to be a rigid rule and becomes your base of operations, your center of power. From this nucleus of stillness, you learn to use speech as a Zen master uses his sword. Rarely, but with impeccable precision and transformative effect. You understand that words are like scalpels. In the hands of an amateur, they cause wounds, infections, and scars that last a lifetime. But in the hands of a master, they can cut through the diseased tissue of illusion, remove a tumor of limiting beliefs, and bring healing to the soul. You only unsheathe your verbal blade when absolutely necessary, and with crystal clear intention. You observe the conversations around you with new clarity, almost as if watching a movie in slow motion. What once seemed like a normal exchange of information now reveals itself as a complex and unconscious dance of egos. One needs to prove their right to feel intelligent. Another needs to be the center of attention to feel loved. A third thrives on constant complaining to justify their inaction. It's a noisy marketplace of insecurities, where everyone is shouting, but no one is truly listening. Instead of joining in this cacophony, You become a deep listener, a silent observer. This deep listening ability gives you extraordinary and subtle power. People begin to feel seen, heard, and understood in your presence in a way they never have before. They can spend hours talking about their problems, and you say only a sentence or two at the right moment. But those few words, spoken at the right moment and charged with the energy of your presence, penetrate directly to the heart of the matter. They act like a master key that unlocks a locked door in the other person's mind, allowing them to find the solution they've been searching for all along. You don't provide answers, you activate their inner wisdom, and when you finally choose to speak, your words carry a weight, a gravity, a resonance that silences the surroundings. They no longer come from your analytical mind, trying to calculate the effect or impress the listener. They emerge from the center of your being, from the point of stillness you have cultivated for so long with discipline and love. Your words are no longer opinions based on second-hand information or theories you have read. They are decrees, declarations of truth that vibrate with the unquestionable authority of your embodied experience. They do not seek to convince, they simply are. And truth, when spoken from this place, is undeniable. You learn to differentiate between the many types of silence that exist in the world. There is the silence of ignorance, the silence of fear, the silence of submission and suppressed anger. But you now operate from the silence of power. It is the silence of the chess master who sees 10 moves ahead and doesn't need to announce his strategy to win. It is the silence of the alpha predator in the jungle who doesn't need to roar to assert his dominance over his territory. It is a silence charged with potential, one that speaks much more than 1,000 words. People sense this power and learn to respect its stillness. This complete mastery of speech and silence teaches you the fundamental difference between strength and true power, a concept our modern society has completely forgotten. Strength is loud, reactive, external, and requires an audience to exist. Power is silent, responsive, internal, and self-sufficient. Strength seeks control of the external world through manipulation and imposition. Power commands the internal world through mastery and discipline. Strength seeks victory over others. Power seeks mastery over oneself. You stop trying to be strong and finally begin to be truly powerful. And this fundamental shift from strength to power changes the way you interact with all of life's challenges. You no longer see problems as obstacles to be overcome with brute effort and stress. You see them as opportunities to apply the wisdom of restraint and precise action. Instead of reacting immediately to a crisis, you retreat to your center of stillness, observe the situation from a higher perspective, and wait for the right moment to act, or, as you will increasingly discover, to not act. Because you learn that, often, the most powerful action of all is conscious and deliberate inaction. The world has taught you to confuse power with strength, but they are opposing energies. Strength is loud, aggressive, and needs an enemy to validate itself. It is the language of the ego seeking to impose its will. True power, taught by Thoth, is the opposite. It is silent, contained, and accumulates in stillness. It is the calm of the master that stops the fight before it even begins, a self-sufficient energy that needs no audience. The crucial difference is, force reacts, power responds. Reaction is an automatic spasm of the wounded ego that keeps you a slave to your triggers. Response, on the other hand, arises from silence and conscious choice. Power gives you the freedom to observe a provocation and choose not to engage, to walk away from the battle and preserve your peace, while force drags you into the mud, falling to the same level as the attack. Strength desperately needs applause and recognition to feel real. Power, however, operates anonymously because its validation is entirely internal. It is silent because it is absolutely sure of itself and has nothing to prove to anyone. A true master does not flaunt his sash. A truly wealthy person does not flaunt his possessions. The need to show off is a sign of weakness, not power. Here's the key to your freedom. The moment you feel the need to prove something, you give away your power. You put the key to your peace in someone else's pocket and become a prisoner of their approval. It's an exhausting game you can never win. By mastering the art of restraint and choosing quiet power, you take back that key forever, and your peace becomes non-negotiable. This unshakable peace isn't weakness. It's your greatest launching pad. Acting from a place of clarity, rather than fear and reactivity, makes your actions incredibly more precise and effective. You stop wasting energy fighting the world and focus only on what matters. Your life becomes an expression of elegance and true power, and you realize you can accomplish so much more by doing so much less. This inner sanctuary, built with the bricks of silence and the cement of restraint, ceases to be a poetic metaphor and becomes your most tangible and present reality. It is a real space within your consciousness that remains untouched, serene, and luminous, no matter what happens in the turbulent outside world. Imagine the eye of a hurricane. All around, the winds can howl at 200 miles per hour. Trees can be uprooted, houses can be destroyed. But in the center, in the eye, there is absolute calm, a profound silence, a perfectly blue sky. You learn to live permanently in this sacred center. The world around you may be plunged into utter chaos, economic crises, political instability, mass media-generated panic, endless family dramas. People run in circles, driven by fear and misinformation, reacting spasmodically to each new headline, each new wave of collective anxiety. But you remain anchored in your center, observing the storm with equanimity. You observe the chaos, acknowledge its existence, but don't allow yourself to be sucked into it. Your unshakable calm isn't indifference or apathy. On the contrary, it's the highest level of clarity and intelligence. From this elevated vantage point, this center of stillness, you begin to see solutions that are completely invisible to those in the midst of panic and confusion. Fear contracts perception, creating a tunnel vision where only the problem is visible, making it seem larger and more frightening than it really is. Calm, on the other hand, expands perception, allowing you to see the bigger picture, the hidden connections, the alternative paths, the opportunities disguised as crises. You become a master strategist amidst an army of terrified soldiers. You become the anchor for your family, your friends, your community. In times of crisis, people instinctively seek stability. They may not understand why you're so calm. They may even call you cold or aloof at first. But over time, they will be drawn to your stability like a drifting ship to a lighthouse. Your serene presence becomes a refuge, a silent reminder that it's possible to navigate any storm when firmly anchored in a deeper inner truth. You become living proof that peace is not something to be found, but something to be cultivated. You demonstrate, through your example, that true security doesn't come from bank accounts, insurance policies, or governments. True security is an inside job, the building of an inner fortress that no external crisis can shake. And this silent demonstration is infinitely more powerful than any sermon or advice you could give. You teach by your mere existence, inspiring others to seek their own inner anchor. This mastery over your inner state brings you to the threshold of final integration, the culmination of the entire journey. You have built the temple, strengthened the walls, lit the sacred flame on the altar. Now, there is no longer any separation between the temple and the world. The sacred and the profane merge. You no longer need to retreat to your sanctuary to find peace. You carry the sanctuary with you wherever you go. Your peace no longer depends on external silence, for you have become silence itself. And this ability to maintain calm and clarity in the midst of the hurricane gives you a huge advantage in all areas of life. In business, you make better decisions. In relationships, you communicate more effectively. In health, your immune system strengthens. You stop living in survival mode and enter a state of constant creation. You're no longer just surviving the storm. You're learning to dance in the rain, using the energy of chaos itself to fuel your growth and evolution. Integration is the moment when the journey stops being a journey and becomes your natural state of being. It happens when there is no longer any separation, no dissonance between what you know in your mind, what you feel in your heart, and what you do in the world. Truth ceases to be an idea you contemplate and becomes the very fiber of your being, your second nature. Your life, in its smallest details, transforms into the message you once felt the need to verbalize. You no longer need to speak the truth, because you live it with every breath. You no longer need to think about being patient. You simply are patience incarnate when faced with a long line or a difficult person. You no longer need to strive not to judge. You become compassion when encountering someone suffering, seeing the divine spark behind the mask of pain. The secret of Thoth, the hermetic principle as within, so without, manifests in your life literally and constantly. Your external reality begins to mirror the harmony, order, and beauty you have so diligently cultivated in your inner world. The garden you have tended within begins to flourish without. You move through the world with a lightness, grace, and efficiency that seems supernatural to others. Things simply work out for you. Doors open. Solutions appear. The right people appear at just the right time. To outsiders, it seems like luck, magic, or privilege, but you know it's physics. It's the natural result of operating from a state of alignment and inner coherence. You're no longer fighting the flow of life. You're moving with it, like a seasoned surfer effortlessly riding a powerful wave. You build your dreams and achieve your most ambitious goals, but the way you do it is completely different. Brute effort, struggle, and stress are replaced by precise alignment, inspired action, and unshakable trust in the process. You learn to plant the seed of your intention in the fertile field of silence, nourish it with elevated emotions, and allow the universe to oversee its germination. You move in silence, focused and present, until success inevitably makes all the noise for you, surprising everyone who didn't see the invisible work being done. Your very identity dissolves and rebuilds itself. The self that was defined by history, by traumas, by achievements and failures, disappears. In its place emerges a vaster consciousness, recognizing itself not as a separate drop, but as the ocean itself. You understand that you are not a person having a spiritual experience, but a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And this realization changes everything. The fear of death diminishes, attachment to outcomes dissolves, and a serene, causeless joy becomes your default state. Your energy becomes sacred. You no longer waste it on trivial concerns, on people who drain you, or on activities that don't nourish your soul. You become a zealous guardian of your own inner state, knowing that it is your most precious asset, the source of all your creation. Your state of peace is no longer subject to negotiation or compromise. You'd rather lose an argument, a business deal, or even a relationship than lose your peace. And this radical choice places you on a new level of personal sovereignty. And this change, though it began subtly and internally, is now undeniable to everyone around you. You walk differently, with more purpose. You speak differently, with more calm and authority. You listen differently, with more presence and empathy. The world, sensing this new and powerful resonance, begins to treat you differently. The respect you once sought is now freely offered. The opportunities you once pursued now find you. You finally understand that you are not here to be loud, but to be absolutely clear in your being. And then, in a moment of profound stillness, you look back at the path you've traveled, and it all makes sense. Crystalline clarity illuminates your entire journey, and you understand every step, every test, every pain. You understand why the first overwhelming impulse was to speak out, and why it was absolutely crucial to resist it. You see that this was the portal, the first guardian of the threshold testing your worthiness to proceed. You understand why isolation was necessary, not as a punishment, but as the only way to separate you from the noise of the tribe so you could hear your own song. You understand why silence was the secret weapon, the alchemical crucible that transformed the raw energy of emotion into personal power. Every step of the journey, every challenge that seemed insurmountable at the time, now reveals itself as a perfectly designed piece of a divine puzzle. Each test was a stepping stone, forged to strengthen you, to purify you, to prepare you for the next level. The entire journey was an initiatory process, designed to transform you from someone who merely knows a secret into someone who is that secret embodied in flesh and blood. Your life is no longer a desperate search for answers. The search is over. You no longer need another book, another guru, another workshop. The insatiable hunger for more information has dissolved, replaced by a serene, self-sufficient satisfaction. You realize that all the answers you sought so ardently outside were always within you, patiently waiting in the silence to be discovered. The external search was merely a reflection of your internal disconnection. By reconnecting with yourself, you have found the source of all wisdom. Your life becomes the expression of a single, powerful truth that you live in every moment, in every interaction. You no longer need to remember principles or techniques. They have become you. You become the mountain, unshaken by the storm of opinions and criticism that rage around you. Your foundation is deep, your presence is massive, and your stillness offers refuge to others. You are no longer affected by the external climate, because you have become the very sacred geography of your existence. You become the deep ocean, calm in its immensity. On the surface, the waves of life may churn, storms may come and go. But in your depths, where you truly reside, there is a peace and silence that nothing can disturb. You learn to observe the waves of emotion, thought, and events without identifying with them. You are the silent vastness that contains all the waves, yet is none of them. And this disidentification is the ultimate freedom, the liberation from all suffering. You realize that Thoth's secret was not an intellectual concept, but an instruction manual for the evolution of consciousness. It was a map that led not to hidden treasure, but to the discovery that you were the treasure all along. The journey was not to reach a destination, but to realize your true nature along the way. Silence was not the goal, but the vehicle that transported you from one state of being to another, ever more refined, ever more powerful. And as you look to the horizon, you no longer see a future to fear or a past to mourn. You see only the eternal now, an infinite field of potential waiting to be shaped by your awakened consciousness. Anxiety and regret, the two thieves that steal the joy of the present, completely lose their power over you. You live in a state of continuous presence, where each moment is complete in itself, full of peace, power, and possibility. And this is true enlightenment in everyday life. In the end, Thoth's secret is revealed. To manifest power, you must first become power. Creation is born of stillness. Strength comes from restraint, and wisdom comes from embodiment. In a world screaming to be heard, you chose the path of mastery, the art of becoming someone truly worth listening to. You didn't seek magic, you became magic itself, transmuting the lead of fear into the gold of presence. You honored the process, resisted easy validation, and transformed solitude into an oasis of power. You protected the flame of your truth until it became an inner sun. And then, one day, something new happens. Your peace becomes so deep and your light so bright that silence can no longer contain it. The energy you've accumulated reaches a critical point and needs to expand, not out of ego, but as a natural law of the universe. When you finally speak, your voice is different. It no longer carries the vibration of need or insecurity. Your words emerge from the heart of silence, charged with the power and peace you've cultivated. They are no longer opinions, but bridges of light that awaken the same truth in the hearts of those ready to listen. Your words become a gift, offered freely, without expectation of anything in return. You become a channel for your own wisdom, an instrument for the evolution of consciousness. And that is the only reason you should, one day, break the silence. Not to prove you've arrived somewhere, but because you've become the place itself. You no longer speak the secret. You've become the living key that unlocks the door for others. Your life becomes proof that the deepest power lies not in what is said, but in what is lived. Thus, the cycle completes. The silence that protected you becomes the source of the power you share. The solitary journey transforms into universal service. You understand that Thoth's command to keep your mouth shut was never about eternal silence. It was about waiting for the right moment, when your words would no longer be a leak of power, but an overflow of love. The moment when your presence, in itself, becomes the message. If you've made it this far, it's because the call was stronger. You're not like most. To let me know you're among those who understand the depth of this, leave the phrase in the comments. My silence is my power. Your presence until the end is already a huge help to the channel. And if this content resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear this message. And if you feel like supporting our work more directly so we can continue sharing more content like this, there's a contribution link in the first pinned comment. Any help is very important to me and the growth of the channel, and I'm deeply grateful for it. But don't leave yet. The journey doesn't end here. I've put together a special video to help you take the next step. A video that will delve even deeper into what we've discussed. Click on the video now, and we'll meet there.